Well, welcome once again to Calaveras Living. Well, unfortunately, the drought continues. Here we are in the summer of 2015, and we're being asked to think about the water problem and do what we can to. So we've asked Joel Metzger, who is actually works in community relations, and to put it frankly, he's the spokesperson for the Calaveras County Water District. And Joel, it's good to see you.
It's great to be back on the show, John.
You're still doing your show here too, right?
I am. I'm doing Inside View still, and I really enjoy meeting people from the community and doing what you do. It's a great thing to do.
Good way to make a living. Fool the public. They think, gee, he's doing a good job. All it is, you get good guests like Joel and let them talk. But anyway.
Don't tell anyone that, John.
Okay. Now, how bad is the drought? You'd know.
I'll tell you what. The best way to explain it is to get a 4-year drought of this magnitude that has consecutive dry years, you have to go all the way back to 900 AD, which is a very long time ago. And how do we know that the last drought in California was in 900 AD? We went and looked at tree ring records in some of the oldest trees in California. They bore a hole through and they examine the tree rings, and that shows that that's how long it's been since we've had a drought of this magnitude.
Isn't that interesting? That can be done too, that you can tell by the rings. It tells how that year was.
It's fascinating. I mean, there are only so many things and clues we have to talk about the past and show us what California's gone through. And some of these giant trees, giant sequoias being some of them, are these very old pieces of history that record it for us.
Yeah. I remember my first one, 980. No, I'm not that old. But anyway, it's good to see you. And of course, you've been now with the Water District just a little more than a year, right?
Yes, my year anniversary was on May 1st of 2015. And I came over from the newspaper industry. I was a longtime reporter at the Calaveras Enterprise, and then I was named editor of the Calaveras Enterprise. I did that for about a year. And by the way, John, I loved being in the newspaper industry. It was really fun.
Yeah, you wrote some good articles.
Well, I appreciate that. It was something I was passionate about, that I believed in, and that I really enjoyed. And I had the opportunity to apply for and be given the job to work at CCWD. And that opened up a whole new world of possibilities where I wasn't so much a generalist, knowing a little bit about everything. I was really more of a specialist in water and still using my community relations skills and my writing skills, but this time on behalf of the Water District. And it's been quite a year, John. I've really enjoyed it.
Well, you've learned a lot in that 13 months or so, or more than that. So what advice are you going to give us today? I mean, where should we start?
You know, before I give advice, I want to say thank you to all of the ratepayers and customers in Calaveras County who have really stepped up and done an amazing job. And so we owe all of them a huge debt of gratitude. That's not to say it doesn't hurt our budget when people buy less water, because it does.
Oh, sure.
And that's something I'll talk about a little bit later. But, you know, this is an emergency situation. As I said, you know, we haven't seen a drought like this since way before any of our time.
Yeah.
And so this is an emergency situation that's recognized by the governor of California and the State Water Board, and they are really coming down hard on the water agencies to be the local enforcement agents. Mm-hmm. And we have to meet the 25% reduction target statewide that the governor has set. And in order to do that, it's my job and my team's job to go out and educate our customers through all kinds of different public outreach venues about what's going on with the drought, why it's important to conserve, and then how you can conserve it. So that's what I really am working on, changing behaviors.
Well, I think it's finally gotten across to the public that it's very important to conserve. So, but we need your tips and your advice, and it's good that people like you know, who have knowledge actually share it publicly so people can respond to it.
Absolutely. And, you know, I know that not everyone can be reached by all the different ways. And so I hope that those who are watching this program can go to our website, ccwd.org. And if they have any questions, they can call us at 754-3543 if anything isn't touched on in this interview. But what I want to do first, John, if you'll humor me, is I want to just let people know exactly what the new stage 3.5 water conservation measures are.
That's the latest.
That is the latest and greatest. It was passed on May 13th of this year by the CCWD Board of Directors, and they're the elected representatives who the people put in power to run the special district that is CCWD. And so these are updated conservation measures, and this is designed to meet the mandates set by the state of
The
California.
25%.
25% statewide, but that doesn't necessarily apply at exactly 25% to each district, and I'll talk a little bit more about how they set that.
Okay.
So this flyer, which I will just hold up, so if you see one of these flyers throughout the community, please pick it up and just have one on your fridge because it's really important. It's double-sided, and the main thing that residential folks need to know is that if we find a water leak on their property that is not the district's responsibility, so this is after the meter on the customer's property, they need to fix that or turn it off within 72 hours. So that's right in our ordinance here. So that's very important that you self-identify leaks, or if we tell you about it, you need to get that fixed right away. Another very important thing is that we have expanded the hours during the day that you can't irrigate at all because it's hot and that's high evaporative times. So starting at 9 o'clock in the morning, no irrigation. All the way through the day, you can't irrigate anything until 7 p.m. So you're really irrigating your outdoor plants, in the late evening and in the early morning.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because that's the least rate of evaporation. So that's a smart thing to do.
And of course, this, as you say, applies to residential people. This is not farmers or something.
Right. So if we do have folks who have agriculture, big commercial farms, we have different regulations for them. This is really applying just to the people, the wife and kids and family. They have their front yard, their backyard, maybe a little garden, and there's a specific thing for them. But this is your average residential family here.
Okay.
So coming down, another very important thing is that we have limited water to 2 days per week. We were at 3, now we're down to 2. And so if you have an odd-numbered street address, so it ends with an odd number like 1, then it's Tuesdays and Saturdays. Those are the days you can water. If you have an even-numbered address, so ends with something like 2, you can water on Wednesdays and Sundays. And there's one exception to this rule. If you are growing a garden or a fruit orchard or a vineyard and you're going to be eating off that local food supply and you need to keep that alive, we're going to give you one discretionary extra day, not one of these 2 days, one extra day in order to keep those alive. And the reason that we're doing that, John, is we support local agriculture. We support keeping the food growing here locally. And it's really difficult to keep some of those things alive if you only have 2 days.
Yeah, and once they die, they're gone.
Yeah, especially trees. If you lose a tree, that's a huge investment. Some of these annual crops, like, if you lose a tomato plant, you could probably plant another one without too much cost next year.
Yeah.
But if you lose your family's 50-year-old apple tree, it's going to be a long time till that one comes back. And then just a couple more things I want to go over. Excessive irrigation. So a real common one is you water your lawn with sprinklers for too long, and it saturates the lawn, and then the water starts running off into the gutter. And I know we've all seen this. Or if your sprinkler isn't aimed properly and it's watering the sidewalk instead of your lawn, these are all violations of this ordinance. And so
Sidewalks do not grow.
They don't grow well.
No.
No, it's just a waste. And the other thing is, we don't want people to be washing hardscape down. So that's like a sidewalk, a driveway, the side of your house. All of those things, use a broom instead of water. And I know that we're used to using water, but in this emergency, we need you to not be washing things down with water. And another thing, and this is right from the state, if it rains, you can't water during the rain, which makes a lot of sense. That's kind of redundant, but also 48 hours after the rain. And the reason is most things are probably going to be doing just fine for the next couple days.
Yeah.
And then I'll just hit a couple more of the residential regulations we have. You can't wash your car unless you have an automatic shutoff nozzle. So it's like a spray nozzle, the one that if you push the handle
Once you
down,
release it stops.
Release it stops. And you can only wash your cars on the days that you're allowed to do watering outdoors. So just those 2 days a week. With pools, there are a lot of people who have pools and they care about these pools. We are allowing you to keep a pool topped off. If you lose some to evaporative loss, you need to fill it back up a little bit. Otherwise, you might actually have your purification system stop working that goes through. That's okay, but we do encourage everyone to put a cover on their pool, whether it be a hard cover or you can put a liquid cover on that actually puts a film over the pool, and that can keep 95% of that water right where it is without evaporating.
What type of liquid is that?
I don't know exactly what type of a liquid
It
it is.
actually keeps it...
It kind of floats on the surface, and then it keeps the water from evaporating. And I know that some water districts are even rebating that to encourage people to use it. So if you manage a pool well, you actually can really make that water last. But here's what you can't do. You can't build a new pool and fill it with CCWD water.
Yeah.
And so for anyone considering building a pool, now is not the time. We need to wait until we're done with this drought. So that's very important. A couple other things. Restaurants are not supposed to serve water unless the patron says, I want water. So customers have to ask for it. Also, hotels and motels generally wash linens and towels every day. According to this restriction, they need to give guests the option of not having them washed every day. So you can say, go ahead and wash them every other day, or don't wash them at all. That can save a lot of water. So that's a big thing. And then parks and schools and other commercial landscapes, we're asking them to cut back by 35%. And so some of those big fields that you see in big parks that have a lot of irrigation, that's going to make a big difference if we can cut those back.
35% is quite a bit.
It is quite a bit, and that's the same as the last regulation, which was stage 3, and I'm working directly with those folks. In fact, one thing I'm excited about is we want to work with the schools to get the kids involved in picking out an area that they could either take the lawn out, and look at the water bill before they take it out, and then after, and see the savings, and maybe also sponsor some native plants to go in, which are such better options than these really hungry non-native plants.
Yeah, good.
And so I think those are really the main things that are going to apply to the residential customers. Golf courses are also getting cut back significantly. And then really the last thing on this flyer is that we do have the ability to enforce this ordinance. And so if people violate and then violate again and violate again, eventually they will actually be subject to fines. And I'd like to go through that just briefly so people understand.
That's an increasing fine?
It is increasing. So what I want to make really clear, John, is the state, first of all, and then CCWD, we don't really want to fine people. That's not what our mission is. We want to do things like this program to inform people and give them these flyers, and hopefully they'll make the decision to adhere to these. But if someone just continues to violate it, eventually we need to let them know that this is not okay, this is an emergency, and there is a penalty for violating the ordinance. So the first thing that we do, if we have a staff member, a CCWD staff member, witness a violation, and again, community members are encouraged to anonymously call or email us and let us know about a violation, but we would never take that as gospel truth. We would always verify a violation with a CCWD staff member.
Okay.
Once we have that violated, we will hand them this flyer. We'll put a door tag on their door if they're not there that says this is the violation that we witnessed. An example would be if the sprinkler was watering the street instead of the lawn. And then we would give them information that they're going to be getting a letter that goes over, again, what the ordinance is all about, why we have to conserve water. And so they're fully informed of all of that. And I'll be available personally to talk to anyone who violates and just make sure I answer any questions they have.
Okay.
Then at that point, hopefully we never ever have to go to that house again because it's all taken care of.
One visit.
One visit. But if someone does violate again, and again that's verified by CCWD, they could be subject to a $100 fine and what's called a flow restrictor. So if you imagine that we have a 5/8 inch pipe going into the house providing water, you can cut that down to a much smaller stream, just about a pea stream, and that can make it very frustrating to have normal water use in the house, but it definitely cuts back on water use. So no one's going to really want to have that installed, that flow restrictor. If the violation happens a second time after the warning and then the first violation, it could be a $200 fine, and then if it's a third time, it could be up to a $500 fine, and any violation thereafter would be $500. And so, if you continue to violate again and again and again, it could definitely stack up. The final thing is, under the state water code, if you are wasting and using water in an unreasonable manner, then you actually can have a misdemeanor brought against you by the local district attorney's office. And that can come, if convicted, with up to 60 days in jail and also a $600 fine. Now again, none of these things are what we want to do, but we do have them in place if we have people who just simply won't cooperate.
You don't want them using county or state water from the prisons, huh?
Yeah, not so much. I guess we have to work with them too to make sure that they're conserving.
Sure.
But it's interesting. We haven't given any fines out yet. However, this new ordinance is very fresh. But the state is taking this seriously, and our customers aren't the only ones who are on the hook here. CCWD is also on the hook.
Yeah.
If by February of next year, 2016, we haven't met our conservation standard, then we could face up to $10,000 per day fines by the
Wow.
state. So it's not just something that we can shrug off and ignore.
Well, it's a good incentive for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, now you can give us some advice about what each one of us can do to conserve some water
Yeah, so
besides those.
So let's kind of start on the indoors. Now, indoors during the summer is not your biggest use, but it is important year-round. And so some things to think about are the biggest indoor water user is actually the toilet. And I didn't know that until I started working for the water district, and that was fascinating to me. Just flushing that toilet uses quite a bit of water, and especially
Some more than others, too, certain toilets.
That's right. So the older the toilet is, generally, the more water it uses. Some of these new toilets are using as little as 1.28 gallons per flush.
Well, the older the person, too, the more they use the toilet.
That's kind of true. That's kind of true. And so, back in the 70s and the 90s, when we had those droughts, there was a saying that was, if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. And I completely support that. If you can, wait a little bit, if you're making some yellow toilet business, then that's a good thing. You can just use one flush, and you can get multiple things with that. So that's a good way. Another thing is when you're taking a shower in the morning or the evening, I don't like to get into a cold shower. I don't know many people who do.
No.
So it's common to run that water until it gets warm, and then you get in the shower. So what you can do is one of two things. One, you can put a bucket under there, and you can catch that water, that cold water.
The early cold water, yeah.
And then once it gets warm, pull the bucket out, put the shower on, and go ahead and do that. And then you can use that bucketed water to water your plants. Now, another way that you can do this is you can put what's called a recirculating pump on your personal plumbing. And if you have a hot water heater, or if you have an instant hot water heater, you can take this recirc pump and you can set it on a timer, or it can be continuously flowing, or you can have a push button. And what it does is it takes that hot water from your water heater and it just circulates it through your entire plumbing system so everything's warm. And then you don't have to waste that water waiting for it to get warm. It's already there. So it's instant right to your shower, to your sink, wherever else you want it. Those are $200 to $500 though, so that's a bit of an expense. Same thing with shaving and brushing your teeth. Don't leave that water on while you're doing all that. On, off. And when you're back to the shower, when you're in the shower, try to keep it to 5 minutes or fewer. I know some people who take 20, 30-minute showers, and that uses a lot of water.
Feels good, but think you're in this service and you have to take 5-minute showers.
5-minute showers, yeah. So like you hear about the Navy shower, that's you get in, you rinse off and get yourself wet, and then that goes off completely. Do your hair, soap yourself up, turn the shower back on, rinse off, turn it off, and you're out. You're done. You really are only turning that on for 2 short periods. So that's a great way to save water.
Also, I recommend an electric razor, too.
Electric razor, there you go.
That's good.
That's another good one. And another thing you can do is when you're washing dishes, use the dishwasher. Make sure it's a full load. Don't hand wash unless you have a basin that you're catching it in and then you're washing within that basin. It's been proved over and over that it's much more efficient to wash dishes in the dishwasher. And it also gets a much higher temperature, which is better for sanitation. So that's a good thing. So those are kind of some of your main indoor tips that you might want to be thinking about.
Now, you have a little device to put on for your toilet?
I do. So I'm going to show you the shower timer first.
Oh, okay.
This is a 5-minute shower timer. It has a sticky, and that sticks to your wall, and then you just turn it, and that'll help you keep your shower shorter. Now, this is one of the conservation supplies that CCWD is providing for free to its customers. And I'm going to show you all the rest of them, too. We have about 5 or 6 things that we're giving out. And they're not just available at our headquarters in San Andreas. They're also available at all the local hardware stores in our main service area. And so all you need to do is go to your local hardware store and say, I'm a CCWD customer, and I'd like to get my one of each of these free supplies, or whatever you'll use. Just take what you'll use, and they will give those out to you.
That's good.
This is a low-flow shower head, and so this is going to do 1.5 gallons per minute, and so that's much less than some of these 3 or 4 gallon per minute showers that really put out the water.
And that would be free also?
This is free. All these things I'm going to show you are free. Another thing is this. This is a little packet that has 2 tablets, which is called a toilet leak detection system. You're going to open up the reservoir tank on your toilet, put these tablets in. It's going to dye your water. And then you're just going to wait and watch. And if any of that dyed water makes it down into the bowl of the toilet, you know you have a bad seal and that your toilet is leaking. Leaky toilets are one of the biggest water wasters out there. So it's very important that you test your toilet. And then we're going to move outside. Oh, one more. Faucet aerator. This puppy right here, you can just screw on to your dining room or your kitchen sink or your bathroom sink, and it'll cut it down to 1.5 gallons per minute too. So that's a really good thing. Now moving outside, this is what's called a moisture meter. And this has a sensor on the bottom of this spike. You push it into the ground, whether it's your lawn or, let's say, a bed filled with landscaping.
Tells you how deep the moisture is?
And it tells you, is it moist, is it wet, or is it dry? And that gives you a real good idea of whether you should be watering or not. A lot of people overwater, so this is a good thing to do. And then the final thing that we have is a garden hose timer. So basically, this screws onto your faucet, and you put your hose on it. And then let's say you want to go water a tree. You put the hose on there. And then you can set this for exactly how much time you want, and it's a timer, and it just ticks down, and once the time is up, it turns your hose off for you, and you don't have to remember. I know I've certainly left a hose on and forgotten about it overnight.
Oh, yeah, we all have.
Used a ton of water. So these are all free water conservation supplies. They're all available at the local hardware stores or in San Andreas, and we want to give these to you, so I hope the customers come in and take advantage of these.
Well, that's really good, and that's also the fact that you take what you need and then use it. Don't just take them.
Right, right, yeah. Don't just take them if you're not going to use them.
Yeah, and the pills, you can get a good supply of those for all your toilets in the home.
Yeah, they're the cheapest thing, and we've been spending thousands of dollars on these to give to our customers, and so I buy a lot of those because they're only about 10 cents a packet, and so we give people a handful of those for all the toilets.
How does that work out with CCWD is spending money to get these things and help people out, and they're getting less income? I mean, CCWD is making fewer dollars, yet expending more.
It's a challenge. That's one of the main challenges that we're facing that is in association with this drought. We have what's called a base rate, and so that's a fixed amount that we get for both water and sewer. Within the water base rate, you get 1,000 cubic feet of water every 2 months. And so if you want to put that into gallons, it's about 7,500 gallons of water. Now, if you use more than that allotment that you get as part of your base rate, then you need to pay additional money, which is called a consumption charge, consuming more than 1,000 cubic feet. So that's kind of the main variable income that we have with water. And as we have conserved more, people are consuming less water above that base rate. And so that means that our variable income is shrinking, by many hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's putting a real pinch on us because, we don't have a lot of other revenues going up right now. Power is also getting more expensive. And then in addition, we have to expend more money on conservation supplies in order to comply with the state mandate to meet these percent reductions. So when I buy things like this, I'm using the water conservation budget, and that's definitely something that we're spending more and more of and that we have to be very careful of. So it's challenging, John. Yeah,
now going back to what you said a little earlier about the penalties and everything, that you haven't had to enforce those things, generally the population is very cooperative in conserving?
Absolutely. And again, I just owe everyone a debt of gratitude because we got the message out and people really did listen. Between June and February, June 2013 or 2014 and February 2015, we saved 18%. And that's a huge, huge accomplishment. That put us in the top 10% of all major water suppliers in the state in terms of percent conserved.
Oh, and there are many districts.
There are more than 400 that are urban water suppliers. So that was a massive accomplishment. And John, I wanted to mention one more thing. We're not just offering these, we're also doing a rebate program. So we will help you pay, not pay for the whole thing, but we'll help you pay for a electronic water controller for the outside, which will turn sprinklers on and off. Very smart, very tech savvy stuff. Some of these can even hook up to the internet and read the weather forecast and turn your sprinklers off for you.
Wow.
Others hook up to one of these guys, a soil moisture, automatically or wirelessly, and they can read the soil and only water if it needs it. So we'll help you pay for that. We'll also help you pay to upgrade your irrigation from sprinklers or inefficient parts and pieces to things like drip tape and drip pipe with low flow emitters. And so we'll help you pay for that. The other thing we'll help you pay for is an efficient washing machine. And so if you can buy a washing machine that meets a standard set by the EPA of being high efficient, then we'll help you pay for that. And the final thing that we'll help you pay for is a low flow toilet. So if you have like a 2-3 gallon flush toilet, we'll help you pay for one that's like 1.28 gallons per flush. So these are all more things that we're offering our customers.
Now, will anybody from CCWD come out and scrub your back while you're showering?
No, I can't say I'll do that, because remember, we don't shower anymore, John.
That's right.
We don't scrub backs and we're not showering.
Yeah, you go in the CCW office and you say, whew, it says, these people are really cooperating. No.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm slowly watching my own lawn go brown. These late rains have kind of kept it green, but it's going to be a sacrifice, and I think it's very important to walk the walk if I'm going to talk the talk. And so, you know, we've decided that we're going to let that lawn brown up. And one thing people can keep in mind is that is the biggest outdoor use of water is those lawns. They really need to think about taking some lawn out, even if it's not the whole lawn, take out part of it, or you know, if you let it brown up completely and don't give it any water, it will die, and if you ever want a lawn again, you'd have to replace it, which is fine with us because lawns take so much water.
Yeah.
But if you do want to, you know, not use as much water but keep that lawn alive, check with your local landscaper, check with master gardeners. The Calaveras master gardeners are very knowledgeable. And see if you can just give it much less than you normally would, but not completely kill it. And then once the winter rains come back and the fall rains, it will green back up again. You'll still have that lawn. And I think that's what we're going to try to do is not completely kill that lawn, but take out some of it and then just barely get some of the other by. And so in the wintertime, we can enjoy that beautiful green.
Well, that's good. Anything we haven't covered? I mean, you've covered a lot of things, but we're just...
You know, I think that those are the main things. One thing I wanted to get in there is that we just launched a brand new website on June 1st. And I want everyone who has access to go and check that website out. It has all kinds of good information.
So that's the ccwd.org?
ccwd.org. Absolutely key. Lots of information. Or call 754-3543, and we'll give you any information you need. We'll answer any questions you have.
Okay. Well, Joel, it's good to see you.
Great to see you too, John. Thanks for having me
And
on.
you folks out there, catch his show. How often do you do one now?
We do one every 2 weeks. We do a couple episodes, and it's on pretty regularly.
Yeah, because he had some good guests, and he's excellent interviewer. I'm learning from him. So good to see you. And we hope to see you next time on Calaveras Living. Thanks a lot. Good to see you.